first that it's Mara that has taken possession of the Brahmin householders and is inducing them to behave in that way. So Mara has the bad intention. And now he tells the monks, come monks, abide contemplating foulness in the body. We could say the unattractive nature of the body. Perceiving repulsiveness in nutriment. Perceiving disenchantment with all the world. And contemplating impermanence, the impermanence of all formations, of all conditioned things. So you see, when one gets honor, respect, veneration, then the mind swells up with vanity. And then this leads to a kind of attachment to these worldly gains, these worldly acquisitions. And then one starts clinging to them, and one loses sight of the need for liberation. And so these four meditations are intended to create within the mind what we call the quality of samvega. Samvega, it's difficult to get a really exact translation of this word. But sometimes we render it as a sense of urgency. It's a kind of agitation that descends. But it's not the agitation of the ordinary restless mind, but it's an agitation that comes when one realizes the unsatisfactory nature of existence, of ordinary existence, or that sense of truth that breaks through the complacency of our ordinary day-to-day life, or it's the kind of agitation that arises when truth breaks through the complacency with which we lead our ordinary lives. But I think it was Thoreau who spoke about lives of quiet desperation. So when that gets shaken, that is samvega. And then the other quality these meditations generate is nibbida, which means disenchantment, seeing through into the reality of life, and then losing the fascination with worldly pleasures and enjoyments and objects of attachment. So here the text mentions 4 meditations that have this effect. One is the contemplation of the, I think better is the unattractive nature of the body. So when one sees the nature of the body as being made up of different organs and tissues, hairs of the, usually the text enumerate 31 or 32 parts, heads of the hair, body hair, fingernails, teeth, skin, the muscles, nerves, bones, bone marrow, kidneys, heart, the liver, the diaphragm, the spleen, the lungs, stomach, stomach, bowels, the small intestines, the large intestines, the different fluids. Then one loses the attachment to the body. then perceiving repulsiveness and nutriment. You see, when the lay people honor the monks, one of the things they do is to prepare very tasty, delicious foods. And so if the monk is not mindful, he could become sort of intoxicated with the taste of the food. And so to overcome that intoxication, what one does is to contemplate the actual process of eating, taking up the food, putting it into the mouth, chewing it, of the saliva mixing with the food, swallowing it, the food going into the stomach, the food getting digested in the stomach, passing into the small intestine, the large intestine, turning into waste, coming out as waste. And so that kind of reflection will bring the perception of the repulsive nature of food and the eating process. Then perceiving disenchantment or discontent with all the world, is seeing, reflecting on all of the different troubles and dangers and miseries in worldly existence, old age, sickness, death. And then contemplating impermanence of all conditioned things, that everything that arises is conditioned by other factors, and so it's all impermanent. And since everything is changing, there's no use clinging to anything. So today I'm praised, maybe tomorrow I'm blamed. Tomorrow I'm blamed, the next day I'm praised. Today I have honored, tomorrow dishonored. Today I'm healthy, tomorrow I'm sick. Next I'm sick for a few days, a few weeks, then I get healthy, then I get sick again. So everything is impermanent, can't rely on anything. And so when one does these practices, these meditations, then all the honor, respect, veneration, of course one can appreciate when others show that it indicates that there's respect and honor in their minds, but it doesn't swell up one's own mind. Okay, so when the monks get this advice from the Buddha, then they practice in this way. And apparently, probably in this way, as they go on their alms round or into the village and get respect from the people, then they're able to maintain equanimity. Okay, now there's a kind of shift of scenario, and this particular incident is discussed here, or narrated. This begins in paragraph 20. Okay, on one occasion, the Buddha Kakusanda goes into the village for alms together with his chief monk Vidura as his assistant. Then the Maratajjaniya, remember, this is the former Mahamoggallana, takes possession of a certain boy, has the boy pick up a stone and throw the stone at the Venerable Vidura on the head, so that it cuts the head even to the point that blood comes flowing out from the head. Okay, then the Buddha Kakusanda turns around and looks at him with the elephant look. What is the elephant look? Why does the text use that expression, the elephant look? Anybody have? Has anybody seen an elephant look at something behind him? What does the elephant do?
It's nothing.
We see elephants every day, right?
Doesn't he have to turn his whole body?
Yeah, exactly. the elephant turns the whole body around. So this is said what the Buddha does. The Buddha, when he wants to look at something behind him, sort of part of his Buddha dignity, that he doesn't turn the head around like this, or turn part of the body like this, but sort of like a regal, with his regal demeanor as such. But when he wants to see something behind him, he turns the whole body around. So the Buddha turns around, looks behind him, and he thinks to himself, this Maratajjaniya knows no bounds. He's just gone beyond the limits completely. And with that look, the Maratajjaniya fell from that place, from this status, and was reborn in the great hell. Now the commentary has to come in here and give an explanation. Why does the commentary give an explanation?
Otherwise the Buddha had killed somebody.
Yeah, otherwise you think that the Buddha has not only killed somebody, but he's consigned somebody, even a Mara, to hell. But the commentary explains that the Buddha didn't really kill him or cause him to fall into hell, but the Buddha knew that because of that evil deed, Mara was going to pass away and fall into hell. But the Buddha just turned around in order to say to him, you know no bounds. Okay, then the text goes on and said, now Moggallana goes on to explain, he's speaking to the contemporary Mara, he's saying there are three names for the great hell: the hell of the 6 bases for contact, the hell of the impalement with stakes, and the hell to be felt for oneself. Okay, then the wardens of hell came up to me, this is Moggallana, and said, good sir, when stake meets stake in your heart, then you will know I have been roasting in hell for 1,000 years. Then Moggallana says, for many a year, many a century, many a millennium, I roasted in that great hell, and for 10 millennia, I roasted in the auxiliary of that great hell. That's like the vestibule of that great hell, experiencing the feeling called that of emerging from ripening. My body had the same form as a human body, but my head had the form of a fish's head. Well, isn't this quite incredible that a being not only who was Mara, but who was in hell for thousands and thousands of years, should later become the chief disciple of the Buddha. You know, so if we feel some difficulty when we're trying to do our meditation practice and think, oh, I don't stand a chance of making any progress, too difficult, I just don't have it together. Well, could just think of Moggallana, who was in hell for thousands of years and yet became a chief disciple. And not only did Moggallana do this in an earlier life, does anybody else know what Moggallana did in an earlier life? Maybe still earlier than that one. Andrea certainly knows.
No, I don't.
You don't?
I'm thinking.
Excuse me?
I'm thinking.
Don't you know this?
Is he the one who killed people because it's...
No, that was Angulimala, who was contemporary with the Buddha Gautama. But long, long, long ago, Moggallana had actually killed his own parents. This is considered actually the 2 deeds are considered 2 of the 5 terrible crimes, or terrible karmas. Killing one's parents, killing an arahant, causing the Buddha to bleed with a mind of malice, and maliciously breaking up, causing a schism in a harmonious sangha. Okay, so then Moggallana continues by reciting verses which are instructions to the contemporary Mara, the Mara that attacked him, telling Mara about all of the suffering that he himself had gone through when he was the Mara Dusi. And then he warns him, in effect, not to attack a disciple of the Buddha. You could read the verses on your own. I don't have to take the verses. There are notes that explain some of the references in the verses. Okay, at this point I'll take any questions that have come up based on the sutta. Okay, Richard?
Yeah, what is the hell to be felt for oneself? What does that mean?
I think the sense is simply that one has to experience that oneself. I mean, that's true of any feeling.
So, these are the 3 names for the Great Hell.
Yeah.
And the Great Hell has these 3 characteristics. One is the 6 base, it's the hell of the 6 bases for contact.
Yeah.
In other words, it's a sensory, the 6
Yeah.
bases of the, so it's a sensory hell. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Secondly, it's one of the impalement with stakes.
Yeah.
And second, the hell to be felt for oneself. So those are the 3 names of it.
Yeah.
It's the same experience. Is that right?
Yeah. It seems that there's just 3 different aspects to that experience. It's actually the same thing.
Well, just what is, I don't quite understand the name of the hell to be felt for oneself.
I don't either. The only sense that I can make out of it is that one has to experience it oneself. But of course any feeling is like that. I don't know, maybe it just emphasizes that it's something to be personally felt.
Well, cannot be expressed by words.
I think that would be stated differently. I'm not sure. But one thing I should say, that this is the same as the hell that's usually called avicii, at least according to the commentary.
There's another hell besides Avicii, isn't there?
Oh, there are actually large numbers of hells. There's supposed to be 16 hot hells, 16 cold hells. But avicii is supposed to be the worst of them.
There used to be a punishment. There were once 360 forms of the death sentence in England, right? And one of them was impalement. That was when the judges would sit in a restaurant and throw oyster shells at you as you were stuck on a pole in the Thames as the tide came in, and you'd be drowned. But they would stick you on a wooden pole, like so you would. Right, that was impalement.
It was going through the body?
That's right. Right, and apparently they had some way of doing it so it didn't kill you. You ended up drowning while you were stuck there. So the relationship between these 3 names fascinates me. Because the first one is saying is the 6 bases of contact, which implies it's wholly sensory. And the second one, it's impalement, so it's internal sense too, body sense. I mean, this is about as agonizing as you can get, right? And then the third one says, I think it said, is it saying it's the one to be felt for oneself because there is no other, there's nothing abstract about it. There is no way to comprehend it other than as a totally involving sensory experience that is the six bases, including internal.
I guess one could maybe take it that way.
Yeah. It's like there's just no way to grasp it without being there.
Yeah, okay, let's...
I'm struck by something that was said at the beginning today when you contrasted this disciple of Buddha with Sariputra, who's known as having this brilliant mind.
Yeah.
He's cultivated his mind to the utmost and his reasoning skills. And Ananda, who's popularly known as being very pure-hearted and very compassionate, he seems to be pointing towards a third kind of wisdom, or a third way of wisdom, which is like emerging from this experience. It's interesting to me that he's suggesting that transforming this tendency to evil is another and a very deep way to arrive at wisdom. I don't know how to frame it as a question, but it's really striking today that there's something besides the kind of monastic skills of reasoning and cultivation of compassion, but a wisdom from life, or transforming or breaking away.
Yeah, but what seems to be transformed is really that, maybe you could call it almost like a violent tendency, or a transgressive tendency, transforming it. I don't say so much as the wisdom, but more psychic powers that can be used in a wholesome way for let's say, the defense of the faith, but not without causing harm for others, not like the Crusades or the...
It could also be a way of showing, in any tradition where you're dealing with psychic powers, psychic powers can be very dodgy. You can get into a lot of trouble with them. You can attract a lot of unwholesome entities by them. And look who was attracted. Mara was attracted to Mahamoggallana. I know Mara bothered other people too. He liked to tweak the bhikkhus and bhikkhunis in general.
He liked to what?
He liked to tweak the bhikkhus and bhikkhunis in general. He definitely liked to do that. But I think he might have been particularly attracted to Mahamoggallana. It's not necessarily in many traditions, even if whether it's in Buddhism or whether you're looking at the yogic tradition, or looking at the Taoist tradition, they will really warn you. If you happen to find that you're getting psychic powers, try to ignore them because you can get into a lot of trouble with that. So this could also be a warning. Be careful.
I've actually haven't seen this so point made so explicitly in the Buddhist texts. That one shouldn't be attracted to psychic powers because they could get you into trouble. It's just, except when Buddhist teachers say that, but I haven't seen that coming from the Buddha. Maybe because it's always that the psychic powers are usually presented within the framework where they build up, where the different attainments build up, culminating in arahatship.
Right, but remember, what's his face, the Buddha's cousin who tried to kill him had.
Actually, I have to resolve that. That is.
I'm not saying it's necessarily affirmatively stated, but I think one can glean that from the teachings. And it's just my thoughts on it.
And also, at least within the framework of the story, there's certainly Mara would have been attracted to Moggallana because there was a karmic connection with them. A karmic connection between them from the previous life, that the present Mara had been the cousin of Moggallana when he was Mara himself. But also in Hinduism, I could see almost a parallel to the case of Moggallana with the figure of Shiva, who is, on the one hand, he's like a very deep meditator. You see the images of him always with the Himalaya mountains. He's up in the Himalayas, on a cliff in the Himalayas, with the large Himalayas in the background. He's in deep samadhi, and the snake is curled around him. He has the blue body. And then also he becomes the fierce deity of Hinduism, the destroyer of the world. Isn't that the case? So the samadhi power and that destructive power seem to go together. Whereas Vishnu is a little bit, maybe we would say Vishnu a little bit is analogous to Sariputta, sort of gentle and loving, and Shiva as being analogous to Mahamoggallana, with deep samadhi powers, but also can be strong and fixed and determinate in his action.
Wouldn't the current Mara know that Moggallana had been Mara before in the past? And would he be trying to tempt him again to see if in fact this change from to this new state of Vajra is really solid, that he could be that tempted? And would be aware that Mara had entered his body?
Apparently within the framework of the story, the current Mara hadn't known that Moggallana had been his uncle, the Maradusi in a past life, because Moggallana has to tell him that. I have to say very frankly, I don't know how much of this is actually historical fact and how much of this is a story intended to convey points of Dharma. So, when they establish these relationships, I don't know whether they're really true or just sort of, let's say, a fiction for the purposes of edification.
There's an English expression, it takes a thief to catch a thief. And at the beginning, Mara had said, how did you know that I was Mara? Even the Buddha wouldn't see me. And maybe this is an application of that psychological wisdom.
Yeah.
It takes a white wizard.
Yeah. Okay, I think we should end for the morning session, and then we can come back for some further discussion. Oh, there's a question. Let's see. One more question. Okay. Okay. As Mara took possession of beings in a physical sense, how do Buddha see exorcism as compared to the Catholic Church? I'm going to say this is not the question that is settled to my knowledge in the texts themselves, but it's something that goes on in popular Buddhist culture. And in popular Buddhist culture, there are rites and rituals of exorcism. People sometimes get possessed by, or at least it's believed that they get possessed by spirits, bhutas or yakshas. And sometimes they're brought. It's not really the specialization of monks, but there are people, lay people who are specialists in exorcism, and they take on that role of reciting mystical formulas and performing rituals in order to exorcise the spirit. That's what I've observed in Sri Lanka. I can't say about the other Buddhist countries. Okay, question 2. Wealthy patrons who donate a lot of money to temples might be corrupting the monks. Isn't Mara actually taking possession of these monks rather than the danas? It's an interesting point. It seems here that Mara isn't able to get access to the monks directly. I don't know why. But what he has to do, at least this is the framework of the story. So the way Mara is working is by getting control of the householders and getting them either to try to make the monks angry and upset by abusing them, or making the monks proud and haughty by honoring and respecting them. Okay, is nibbida sometimes translated disenchantment and sometimes as revulsion, as in paragraph 119? Actually, the word that is translated disenchantment here isn't nibbida, but this is another word, unabhiratta or unabhirati, which could mean discontent. And I should also say that I translated the word nibbida in the Majjhima Nikaya as disenchantment, then I was going to use it in the connected discourses, the translation of Samyutta Nikaya. But another monk who will remain nameless prevailed on me very strongly and said, arguing you should translate it as revulsion. And he gave me some reasons, and at the last minute, just before it went to press, I accepted his arguments and translated revulsion. But afterwards I regretted that, and I would go back, and in fact I'm using disenchantment again. I don't actually like revulsion. Okay, we'll end with sharing of the merits. So we share the merits with the Devas, the Buddhas, with all beings, and we could even share them, especially today, with Mara. Akasata jabumata deva nagamhitika punyanta nanumodipa chiram rakantu sasanam. Akasata jabumata deva nagamhitika punyanta nanumodipa chiram rakantu desanam. Akasata jabumata Deva Naga Mahidika Punyantang Anumodipa Shiram Rakantu Mamparam Etavatacha Mehi Sampadam Punya Sampadam Sabbe Deva Namodantu Sabbasampati Siddhya Etavatacha Mehi Sampadam Punya Sampadam Sabbe Bhutanamodantu Sabbasampati Siddhya Etavatacha Mehi Sampadam Punya Sampadam Sadde Mara Anumodantu Sabbasampati Siddhya Bhavagupadaya Vichihetato Etantare Satakayupapanna Rupya Rupicha Sanya Samyino Dukha Pamuchantu Pusantu Nibuddhi. Okay, we can stand.